What's good? My name is Tish Collins, and I pray that life is being kind to y'all. If this your first time coming across my channel, welcome. If you come at bike, I appreciate you so much. Alright, so this is gonna be a in-depth look and visual of my loc journey for the first 1 year and 6 months. Alright, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so first, let's go ahead and take a look at how my hair used to look before I locked up. Also, the length that I started my locks with, and then we will briefly discuss why I locked up in the first place. Alright. So before I started my locks, this is the length that my hair was. This is the length that I started my locks with, alright? And then how I used to wear my hair before I locked up, I used to always get kamikaze twists, 2 strands of some sort. I used to get braids, splice, things of that nature like that, alright? And then why I locked up, alright? So I had been wanting to lock up since like 2017, 2018 time frame, but I lived overseas at the time, but I didn't quite see somebody who was going to start my locks to my liking. But then also I had to wear ponytails 24/7, alright? And I already know how damaging that could be to your edges and pulling your hairline back and all of that. And I just wasn't trying to deal with my locks. But the one thing that kept me from locking up mainly, all right, and this is my truth, okay? I am in the LGBTQ plus community, all right? I realized that majority of the studs in the community that I was seeing, most of them had locks. Now, me personally, I don't like doing what the majority is doing. I gotta go a different direction with it, right? So for years, even though I wanted to start locks and I was thinking about it, I was like, nah, bro, I can't do it because I'm not trying to, fit in with the crowd. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't really trying to fit into that category or blend in per se. You know what I'm saying? But then a mentality shift happened. I did my research, and then I just kind of started to see more and more and realize that it don't really matter how many people have locks, because everybody's locks is literally unique to them. You know what I'm saying? So you can look at my locks and then go look at the next person's locks and be like, dang, their locks look completely different, right? And this is also why I say, little sidebar, this is also why I say that don't nobody else locks looks like nobody else locks. Even if you think you have the same hair texture, there's so many different things that go into play. All right, but let's go ahead and move up over that. All right, why I actually ended up starting my locks. All right, this is what pushed me over. All right, I had like 3 hairstylists. One of them was getting like lazy. I mean, extremely lazy. Literally trying to take shortcuts, parting as big as they could, still expecting me to pay $150 for a style I did not like. So I stopped going to them. One of my hairstylists, they was canceling all the time, or they was late, or whatever the case is. The other hairstylist, I was just tired of doing the house calls and paying for the driving for them to get to me and all of that. All right. So it really just came down to, I was really sick and tired of wasting $150, $200 on these hairstylists, and then I'm getting half professionalism. I was tired of that aspect of it. In whatever moment, I was just like, to hell with this, bro. I'm gonna go ahead and lock my hair, right? So I found the base loctician in San Antonio. All right, here's her IG. I ain't waste no time on it. Didn't think nothing about it. I made a move on it. I'm starting my locks. I found her on IG. I hit her up. We did the consultation. So I hit her up, and I think we did the consultation that following week. And then the week after the consultation, I was getting my locks installed. I was not playing. But one thing y'all need to know about me and starting my locks, I purposely went into my loc journey with no loc inspo. I didn't look at nobody locks. I didn't want my locks like nobody else's. So for me, I had no loc inspo because I did not want to ever put myself in the mindset of, if my locks do not come out looking like this person or these people locks, then I was not going to be able to fully love my locks in their entirety, all right? So I purposely went into it with the mindset of, I just simply want my locks to look like my locks. I don't care about nobody else's locks. I don't care about what nobody else is doing. I don't care about nobody else's loc journey. This is me. All me. That's all I care about. Now, I am grateful to say, I am so happy to be able to say that the locks are fine. Like, they are flourishing beautifully, all right? But that was just my mentality, and it worked out extremely well for me. I just been documenting the process, and this is where we are with it, all right? So yeah, that's the length of my hair before I locked up, the styles I used to wear before I locked up, why I was so hesitant about locking up, and what made me go ahead and lock up in the first place so impromptu, all right? That's also a little bit of my thought process, all right? So now let's go ahead and switch gears to day one of the loc journey. All right, so here, day one of my loc journey, all right? I started my loc September 19th, 2023. The most I knew is that I wanted small square parts, and I knew that I wanted a middle part. That's it. Outside of that information, I ain't know nothing else. I didn't care to know nothing else because I knew that I was gonna go through the journey anyway. I had one of the best locticians. Well, I had one of the best locticians on my team, so I already knew that I was gonna be steered correctly. I started with 2 strain twists. I started with square parting and I got a middle part, all right? So I actually went into my appointment and I wanted small parts. I got medium parts. Now, usually I'm very particular, okay? But I am so happy that my loctician, she did exactly what she was supposed to do, because I got 114 locks. I don't think I could take no more than 114. Now, initially, I wanted 120 locks. All right, I did want 120, but when we take into account that I have a taper on the sides and I got a fade at the bike, if that hair was in there, I probably would have got to 120. But I am cool with 114. So I mentioned that I started with 2 strain twists. All right, so this is what y'all need to know. When I started my locks, I was letting my sides and my bike grow out. All of my sides was shaved off. I still had the taper going at the front, and then I had more of my bike cut off, right? Before I started my locks, I decided to let majority of it grow back out, except for just these sides right here. And then I kept some of the undercut at the bike because I can't stand having hair at the back of my neck, all right? So what y'all need to know is I started like 98% of my head with 2 strain twists. But because I was letting my sides and the bike grow back out, it was way too short for us to do 2 strain twists. So we had to start those with coils. So I actually started with 2 strain twists and coils at the same time. Here's what I would tell you. The coils locked in way faster. Okay. It's just me speaking the truth to y'all. The coils locked in so much faster than the 2 strain twists did. Also, once the locks at the bike actually caught and they butted up and they stopped unraveling, they matured much faster than the 2 strain twist did. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it on day 1. Let's go ahead and switch gears to months 1, 2, and 3. So months 1, 2, and 3. This is when I realized that I had a scalp issue at the back of my head. Now it's like 2 to 3 specific areas that was back there that they would literally be extremely itchy, extremely irritated. They would leave scabs and dry patches on my scalp. Like I am scratching, digging in my scalp, and I'm just like, and then it's like flakes and all of that at the back of my scalp, just in these particular spots. And I could not figure out why. I was like, yo, I'm probably finna have to take these out of my head, because I couldn't do it. Like the first 3 weeks, I realized that this issue was becoming more and more prevalent, right? So then I found the Sulfur 8, the grease. All right. So I just started applying the Sulfur 8 grease to those 2 to 3 specific areas at the back of my head, and then that would temporarily take care of the problem. But then the issue would come back like every 3 weeks, like clockwork. All I know is that it was getting on my last nerve, and I was finna resort to the last resort, which was taking my 2 strain twist out, because I could not take that itching, scabbing up my scalp. Now my scalp is red, and it was just causing me too many issues. So months 1, 2, and 3, this was like the biggest issue that I had, on top of unraveling, okay? Now, understand that unraveling is extremely normal. I think my locks unraveled for like the first 1 to 6 months, 1 to 7 months or something like that. But along my edges, especially, they was unraveling like crazy. At the bike, I can't get them joints to stay in there for nothing. Like, I couldn't get them joints to lock in for nothing. And honestly, to this day, the only reason I feel like I was able to finally get the bike locked in is because I had did my first style. And because I had did that first style, it was barrel twist. The locks was just like there. They wasn't being manipulated as much. So I feel like that's why they was finally able to like latch on. I ain't really care too much about my shrinkage. Now I did have a lot of shrinkage, okay? That's why I tell people, just prepare for 80% shrinkage when you go get your locks installed, because it's gonna shrink. You ain't gonna beat them allegations, right? So because my locks, they was like nice short, but they was still like fire. You know what I'm saying? Like they still look really good. I just wasn't used to the length being up here. But other than that, I was cool. Outside of the scalp issue that I had in the unraveling, everything else seemed to be going as normal. If I had a question, this is where my loctician came into play. All right, I would just ask her. She would say yay or nay, or I'm cool or not, or whatever, just so that, we can kind of stay on track with that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for months 1, 2, and 3. Those are the biggest issues that I had during this phase, was just the unraveling and the scalp issue with the bike. Where I sit today, I did fix that issue, but we'll circle back there later on in the video. So yeah, that's months 1, 2, and 3. All right, so for months 4, 5, and 6, I still had hella unraveling, like so much so to where I would walk out of my retwist appointment with coils or two straight twists. And by the time I went back to my retwist appointment, I was back in my natural form with a fro. Okay. Now I will say this part of the process could get a little frustrating, especially when you start to see that like some of your other locks are actually budding, they're locking, like they're starting to mature, and then you got these over here to just tripping, unraveling, not trying to be part of the process. It can get a little frustrating, but just stick with it. I'm telling you, they gonna lock in, all right? Real fast, how often I get a retwist? So I go get a retwist every 6 weeks, all right? Now, I did play around with this timeline. I think one time I waited 8 weeks, and I think another time I waited 10 weeks. Actually, this last retwist that I just got, I actually ended up having to wait 9 weeks. All right, the 6 week time frame works best for me. If I go anywhere outside of that time frame, it's not gonna work for me just because of my hair texture. All right, especially before my locks like was locked in like they are now. If I went anywhere past that 6 week mark, I will actually lose the budding on some of my locks because my hair texture is really soft. So if I got into my retwist appointment, then she was able to keep it in tight by doing the retwist. You know what I'm saying? So it wouldn't go nowhere. I actually had to get a couple of my locks fixed because the budding would slide off. Even today, I go 6 weeks. My roots and then the frizz, it just be too much. And then the longer I go without a retwist, the harder it gets to maintain. You know what I'm saying? Because now I'm constantly having to go through my roots and pull them apart so that they not getting stuck together, so that they not getting mited together and all of that. All right, that's why I stick to the 6 week time frame. It works the best for me. So I'll have to go ahead and throw in the shower routine. We're trying to lessen the unraveling. We're trying to maximize the retwist and get the locks to bud and lock in, right? So for my shower routine, what I used to do was I would put a headband, a stretchy headband on just to get my locks out of my face. But then I would put a do-rag on, and then on top of the do-rag, I would do like a cloth shower cap. So on the inside, the shower cap was cloth, and then the outside it was the water resistant material or whatever you want to call it. All right, that's just how I did it to lessen the frizz for one, but then to also make it so that the locks along my edges would not unravel. All right, I still do that to this day. The only difference now is I only do it for the first 3 weeks. So if I go get a retwist, I only do that for the first 3 weeks because after that I wash my hair, and after that it ain't no point because after I wash it, the frizz is gonna be back in full effect. So yeah, it ain't nothing we trying to save at this point. You know what I'm saying? So then I just hop in the shower as is and just go on about my business. All right. So that's pretty much how my shower routine was for the beginning of my loc journey, just so that I could cut down on the unraveling and all of that. All right. But that's pretty much all I got for months 4, 5, and 6. So let's go ahead and tap into 7, 8, and 9. All right. Month 7, 8, and 9. This is the phase where I realized that my locks were actually starting to drop. I would definitely say it was like end of month 8, beginning of month 9, but definitely month 10, you can 100% tell that my locks had dropped. My unraveling had lessened a lot. But I will say, around this time frame, all of my locks around my edges and at the bite, they had either started budding or they had started maturing. But yeah, for month 7, 8, and 9, honestly, that's about all I got for these months right here. Is that this is where I really realized that my locks were dropping for the most part. So let's go ahead and tap into months 10, 11, and 12. All right, month 10 for me would have been July. That retwist session for July was a session that let me know that my locks had gotten mighty long in such a short period. And that's another thing about locks, son, is until you go get your retwist, you might as well go ahead and hang it up on how long you think your locks might be. Or if you think your locks not growing, all you need to go to is your retwist appointment so that you can see how long your locks had actually gotten. All right, now, nearing probably the beginning or the middle of month 11 is where I finally found the products that work for my locks. All right. So briefly, before I found the products that I use currently, I was using water. I was using Jamaican Black Ice conditioning spray. I was using rose water spray. I was using Jamaican Black Ice oil. I think that's pretty much it. Now, the products that I just listed, it was good for its time. Okay, it got me through for the time because during all these months, I'm still trying to find the products that work for me. Now, for me, I did not like that my locks was feeling dry. And while I was moisturizing and hydrating my locks, they still felt dry and they looked just as dry as they felt. I did not like that. I could not stand that. Especially now when it came to my locks. And I was like, yo, there's gotta be something out there that would give me what I'm looking for. What I was looking for was my locks to be shiny, my locks to be flowy with movement, my locks to not look dull. I wanted my locks to look, feel, and actually be hydrated. Okay. So I ran across this product called the Camille Rose Honey Hydrate Leave-In Conditioner. This was my saving grace. All right. It works for me. Okay. It might not work for you. This was the product that saved me. All right. So now the products that I use in my routine is I spray with regular water. I no longer use rose water. Just regular water does me just fine, all right? So I go through and I mix with regular water straight out the faucet. I apply a quarter size amount of the Camille Rose Honey Hydrate Leave-In Conditioner to my entire head of locks. And if I need to oil, then I will oil with Jamaican Black Castor oil, all right? That's it. That's it. That's my moisture routine. All right. In the beginning, with the rose water spray and the Jamaican Black Castor conditioning spray and all of those products, I used to moisturize every single day. Okay. With the products that I just mentioned, the water, Camille Rose Honey Hydrate Leave-In Conditioner, Jamaican Black Castor oil, nearly every day I would skip a day or two every now and again, just based off of if I feel like my locks do not like any moisture. You know what I'm saying? If they are hydrated enough from the day before and they still look shiny, they don't look dull, and they giving me everything I need from them, then I will not moisturize my locks for that day. At this point, it just comes down to discretion. I don't need to hydrate every single day. I oil 1 to 2 times a week now, and it's really becoming 1 time a week at base. I don't really need to, like, my scalp don't get dry, it don't really get itchy, like it don't really be tripping out on me anymore. So I oil, when I feel like it needs to be oiled. You know what I'm saying? So that's the products and the routine for where I sit today. All right. Bike to the 10, 11, 12 months. All right. Y'all, it took me nearly a year of being on my Loc journey to find it. All right. So be patient and find your products. All right. Freeze really fast. I need y'all to understand that I'm not doing a thing to make this here hyping. I promise you I'm not. Okay. It is simply just my hair texture. But even at the beginning of my Loc journey, my loctician used to always tell me that it was just my lock texture and the texture of my hair, which is why my locks was locking the way that they were. Because I was getting a lot of people asking me if I had lock extensions, and y'all, I used to be so offended. Because you're not gonna take away from my lock process. I've been trusting the process. Oh no, y'all not finna disrespect me. You know what I'm saying? But not for real though. I did used to get real offended. But y'all, it's simply just my hair texture. Honestly, for the most part, most of my locks are locked. It's just my ends at this point that have not locked in fully. Once my ends lock in, my locks won't even look like this anymore. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the frizz. At the beginning, I was trying to maintain it. I was trying to do things to like minimize it. You know what I'm saying? But girl, now she can do what she want to do. All right, she maintaining me at this point. I don't even be trying to. If it comes to my retwist, then I will try to maximize my retwist for like the first 3 weeks. But then after that, she can have fun and do whatever she want to do, because I actually love my frizz and I actually embrace my frizz, and I feel like I'm actually gonna miss my frizz when it go, because I feel like it's the frizz that's giving me the volume. You know what I'm saying? And it's the frizz that are making, like, when I get certain styles, they make the style stand out a little bit more, just because it is so frizzy and my ends are still a little curly or whatever the case is. But I'm in love with my frizz. I low-key do not want her to go, but I'm not gonna be one of them people that's combing out my ends and trying to make it stay curly. I'm just not finna do it. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty much it on the frizz. That's pretty much it on the products. So yeah, let's go ahead and switch gears to the 1 year Loc anniversary. All right, so by the time my 1 year Loc anniversary rolled around, the locks had dropped. I had a lot of length. The locks, for the most part, was maturing and locking in. All right. Up until this point, I had never been so in love with my hair ever in my life. Me getting locks was the base decision. Me starting my Loc journey was really the turning point in me loving not just my hair and my locks, but me tapping into that internal love as well. I feel like a lot of people don't talk enough about the confidence that comes from having locks. You can't tell me a thing. You can't tell me nothing. Okay. I really realized that, like, I have a healthy love for my hair. It's just a beautiful journey to see. But then also I realized that it really made me feel good internally. I was going through a lot. And my locks was like the one thing, the one good thing that was like really going for me at this time. I would just say for my 1 year, I was just really honed in on just being completely in love with my hair and my locks for the very first time in my life. And just really basking in they. That's pretty much all I got for the 1 year loc anniversary, because we pretty much summed up everything else before this. All right, so let's go ahead and tap into months 13, 14, and 15. Month 14. These two locks right here at the front, the very, very, very front two locks at the front of my head that everybody got access to. You know what I'm saying? That everybody can visibly see. These two locks right up here was like, oh, I'm finna show out. I'm finna show you a real body time, okay? This lock over here, her budding was starting to slip off, okay? this was the annoying part for me, all right? At the base of the lock, you can see where it's supposed to be, and then there was like a little bit of budding, and then there was just a curly strand going all the way down. Now the problem was I had a retwist appointment coming up, but if I did not keep this lock in tight, the budding was going to slip right off of there. All right, and then it was all just gonna be a curly strand. All right, so I'm fighting for my life, trying to make sure that I don't over manipulate this lock right here so I can get to my loctician so she could fix it. This lock over here started doing the same thing. So my retwist appointment finally came up. She took her tool and she had to fix them, and we got them back right. However, after she fixed this one, it was still tripping. It was still trying to slide off. So at the next retwist appointment, she had to fix this one more time, and then we've been straight ever since. And I'm praying it stay that way, because that was like really irking to me. The very two front locks that everybody gotta see is like tripping. And then for the most part, I wear my locks like down and in my face, so it's like you can't miss them. You know what I'm saying? The rest of my locks was fine for the most part. This part in the journey, man, I'm just having fun with it at this point. The locks are still growing, but honestly, at this point in it, I can't even tell how long they had gotten. All right, so for me personally, I can't really tell, especially after my locks dropped, I can't really tell how long they have gotten unless I go get a retwist or I go around somebody who hadn't seen me in such a long time and they point out like, dang, your locks done got so long since the last time I seen you. Because I feel like for me, it's just a matter of I'm looking at them 24/7, so they don't really look too different to me unless I go get a retwist, right? Because I know at a few of my retwist sessions, my loctician will be like, "Dang, your hair done got long." That's just how I know they growing. Because outside of that, I can't really tell no more, y'all. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that's pretty much it for months 13, 14, and 15. Let's go ahead and tap into 16, 17, and 18. All right. Month 16 is when I got a bald spot in my locks, man. I still be hurt trying to talk about it. All right. So lock style number 4, the 2-barrel twist at the bike with the 2-barrel twist at the front going into 2 high ponytails. When I took that lock style down out of my head, is a bald spot over here. All right. I was hurt. If you seen that video, do you know I was hurt? The 2 high ponytails. All right. I went in to get this lock style put up, but they was too far bike. So I went bike a second time to get them moved higher. Second time looked so much better. The style was gorgeous, right? I don't know if it's because we moved them higher the second time or whatever the case was. All I know is that my follicle was damaged, but there was no really hard up signs that like my scalp was like under distress. So I had held off on trying the remedy that I have that has worked for me in the past. I held off on that until I heard from the dermatologist. So now that I finally heard from the dermatologist, I'm going to actually apply the remedy that I have to see if I can actually get that hair to grow back in. But yeah, month 16, well, we took a hit. I was so hurt, son, because my thought process is I know I over care for my scalp and my locks, so that like when something so damaging happens to my scalp or my locks, I am not a fan. Like, I am upset. I am hurt. But yeah, this is where we are. I will keep y'all updated on the ball spot. Challenges and issues, right? So we talked about the 2 locks at the front that had to be fixed. This lock over here that came unraveled and had to be fixed. We talked about the budding sliding completely off of the locks. We talked about the bald spot. We talked about the scalp issue going on at the back of my head. Now let's talk about if you got locks and you get tapers, undercuts, fades, whatever the case is. All right, be careful. All right, make sure you watch your barber. Okay, to make sure that they are one, not pushing your hairline back, but they are also not cutting into your locks. So when I first started my locks, I actually would get the front lined up. I would still have this lined up here. However, the barber that I was going to at the time, I noticed that they was pushing my hairline further and further and further back. All right, that's why I stopped getting a line up at the front of my head. All right, that was one of the reasons why I stopped, is because I was so tired of the barbers pushing my hairline back. But then also I had been getting my hair cut since 2018. Okay, I started my locks in 2023. All right, and we sitting at 2025 right now. Okay, I just feel like I'm getting well past that point of where I'm getting my hair cut. Like I'm well past that point. All right, so I let the front grow back in, as y'all can see. Okay, so that's why on some of my videos at the beginning of my journey, you will see that I had a lineup and everything at the front, and it was crisp. On my sides, where I get it faded up now, after my graduation in May, because I'm going to get another lock style in May for my graduation. After I get that style, I'm done getting my sides cut, because the same thing is happening, especially over here. It's traveling up over here on these locks, and that's not where we started. Okay, we started down here. We started with such a small area on the sides, and on both sides it's traveling up, and I know that it's going into my locks. All right, I'm just gonna let it grow back in. If y'all see me on these videos and the sides looking a little rugged, it's because I'm letting it grow back for good this time. All right, now at the bike where I get it faded up, I will probably always get that cut, just because I cannot stand having hair at the bike of my neck. I don't know why. I just cannot stand it. So just be cautious, be careful, really watch your barber, because they do tend to push your hairline further and further and further back. Now I know that a lot of people will tell you to go get a retwist and then go get a haircut so that they can see exactly what they cutting. It's not realistic, okay? For me, if I have a lock style, I go get a cut every single week. If I do not have a lock style, I go get a haircut every 2 weeks. I'm only going to get a retwist once every 6 weeks. It's not realistic. You know what I'm saying? So I would just say be cautious. And I even started, I had got to the point to where I would put a hairband, one of the thick hairbands on. I would put it on, and then I would section off where you need to be cutting, because you don't need to be going nowhere higher than that. We don't need to be traveling up nowhere, making my locks thin and all of that. So yeah, that was real damn long winded. Let's go ahead and move on. More of the story is be cautious if you get these fades and these lineups and all of that with your locks. But let's go ahead and move on. All right, so I briefly touched on my loc routine. All right, so I'll hit it real fast for y'all one more time. All right. The very first thing I do is I mist with regular water straight from the faucet. After I mist with the water, all right, I'm just getting my locks damp. All right, y'all, we don't want them joints soaking wet, okay? We is not trying to deal with no mold or no mildew smell, okay? We just want to get them damp, all right? So then after that, I go in with a quarter size amount of Camille Rose Honey Hydrate Leave-In Conditioner for my entire head of locks. If I need to oil my scalp, all right, I will oil my scalp with Jamaican Black Castor oil. And I'll do this mostly every day. Again, every now and again, I'll skip a day or two just based off of if I feel like my locks have plenty of moisture, all right? For my wash day, I wash my locks every 3 weeks, all right? I will go get a retwist. 3 weeks after the retwist is old, I will wash my locks. 3 weeks later, I am now going to get a retwist because it's at the 6-week mark and my loctician is washing my locks, all right? To wash my locks, I use Sulfur 8 shampoo, and I also use the Dry and Itchy Scalp Care by IZM Dandruff shampoo. All right, I do one wash with the Sulfur 8, one wash with the IZM, and then after that, I will go in with the Camille Rose Honey Hydrate Leave-In Conditioner, and I will oil my scalp with the Jamaican Black Castor oil. I also use the IZM Dry and Itchy Scalp Care oil for those 2 to 3 specific areas at the back of my head. this is how I was able to finally get rid of those problem areas that I talked about at the beginning of the video that would leave scabs, leave my scalp just in bad condition. Me doing this wash day routine is what helped me get rid of it completely. So if you're having issues with your scalp, now I don't recommend a thing. All right, y'all should have known that was coming. I don't recommend a thing. I simply just tell y'all the products that I'm using. If I had an issue, how I fixed the problem. All right, this is just what works for me on my personal life journey. But if you having a scalp issue going on, you could try that little concoction out. All right, that's what helped me. So a lot of y'all be asking me what products do I be using to keep my locks healthy. I just ran it down to you. All right. The products that I use when I mist nearly daily, the products that I use in the shower. All right. If you want a more in-depth video, all right, on all the products that I use and I thoroughly go into the frequency of use of them, there's a video that is titled All Products That I Use on My Locks Currently. I think it was uploaded maybe 2 to 3 videos before this one. That's the video that you need. That video will entail all of the information that you need about the products and the frequency. All right. This one is not it. All right. With that being said, I'm tired, son. I just got up out of class. I had to bust this video out real fast for y'all. So let's go ahead and wrap this here. All right, so we ran down a lot of information, all right? But that's an in-depth look of my locks and some of the trials and tribulations I had on my loc journey for the last 18 months, all right? Also, if there's a video that y'all want to see of my loc journey or something within my locks or anything you might want to see, just ask me in the comments and I'll make it, all right? Because with my loc videos, I'm going off my dome for a lot of them. And then whatever one come to my mind and I feel like recording, that's the one I push out for y'all. But if y'all ask me for a specific video, then I will go ahead and record that one and push that one out before some of the other ones that I might have already recorded, all right? So if there's a video that y'all want to see on any journey, all right, loc journey, healing journey, braces journey, whatever the case is, whatever journey, like if there's a video y'all want to see, and just ask me and I'll push it out for y'all, all right? Like in this video, if there's something you want me to mention that I didn't, just drop it in the comment box and I answer the question, or I'll push out another video or something like that, you know what I'm saying? But I appreciate y'all for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and connect with me on all social media platforms at I am Tish Collins. I pray that today in life is being kind to you. And if it isn't, then I pray that tomorrow and every day after will be, all right? Y'all keep going. All right, but we ain't got a choice but to keep going. All right, I love y'all deeply, and I'll chop it up with y'all later.